you have to wonder if the Justice Department is considering whether there is some political solution to this criminal problem, whether part of the issue here is not just that Trump has committed crimes, but that Trump has committed crimes and plans on being back in the White House. Do they consider, as part of a potential plea offer, something that would proscribe him from running for office again? I don't know.
I would imagine if anything like that happened, that it would have to come from the defense side of the negotiation, that the Trump team would say, oh, by the way, and with this, we will also, drop out of the race for president. Otherwise, it would put the Justice Department in this position that Donald Trump claims they're in. He claims they're trying to stop him, simply trying to stop him from becoming president again. And that's the only reason they're doing this. So my guess, given those dynamics and the change, I think, in the way the Justice Department sees this in those 50 years since Spiro Agnew, it just seems unlikely that they would reach into the political zone of the solution. Our politics does have to find a solution to this, but it might have to find that solution separate and apart from the criminal process.
Welcome to another episode of the Nick and CJ Show. I'm one of your hosts. I'm CJ. What's up, Nick?
Hey, what's poppin', my friends, my family? We are back again. Welcome, my friends. We are back. It's going to be a great week. A lot of strategy, a lot of discussion. It's going to happen this week.
Yes.
Things are moving fast, guys.
Yes.
Things are moving extremely fast.
Yes. That's going to be exciting. That's going to be exciting to talk about. Go ahead.
Yeah, we have later in the show, at 2 o'clock, 2 Central, 3 p.m. Eastern Time, we're going to have our friends at the Green Party, some friends I know, discuss third parties, the Green Party, Dr. Cornel West. There's a lot going on, a lot to discuss in terms of strategy. I already kind of drew my line in the sand last week with Howie Hawkins. And Howie Hawkins is someone who I believe is 100% an infiltrator and someone that we should not tolerate. I don't know what happened, internally in the UK, in Wales and Germany regarding their Green Party, but I seen it. They gave us a preview about what's going to happen here. Howie Hawkins are trying to facilitate the neocon shift that already happened in the UK and Wales, where they renounced and backtracked from their position that was formerly oppositional to NATO. That happened in the last 2 years. That's what Howie Hawkins was trying to do. So if that's the intention of the Green Party, not only do we want nothing to do with it, we're going to actively destroy it. And I mean, whenever I'm talking to someone, what party should I support? Should I support the Green Party? Hell no. I mean, I'm going to actively tell people not to support the Green Party if Howie Hawkins is anywhere near leadership. But do not be dismayed, guys. This is very common opinion. There are a lot of people who are silver within the Green Party, but they did internal polls we can talk about this later with the Green Party regarding Dr. Cornel West versus Howie Hawkins. It's not even close. No one in the party wants Howie Hawkins. But we talk about that a little bit later. But we also have Dr. Cornel West come in by on Wednesday. The same time. It'll be 3 p.m. Eastern Time is a scheduled interview.
Oh, he's coming in the daytime. Oh. I think I missed that. Okay. I like that even better. I'm just saying I like that even better.
It's going to be on regular showtime. That's why I try to book people if I can. So we're going to do that Wednesday.
That's awesome that you do that, because I do think get that particular time of the day is unfeathered. It's not a lot of people there, and breaking news there for the later shows to also cover is always great to do. And we've been known to do that several times when people use us as sort of breaking news. Go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. So I also want to respond to that video before we get our.
Well, that's what we want to talk about. Let's talk about that, because let's let that be our warm up before we bring in our guest. Because Nick, and I do want to say this before we kind of get into it, just just thinking about in terms of terminology, ideology. I don't know how other do you look at what's happening, barring the names that are involved. You have one party that's over the Justice Department running for office. That party, whatever you can say, special counsel is through Joe Biden administration. That counts, that person. This is literally, how is this not fascism to me? That's the reason for the title. This is American fascism right here. This is what Ajamu Baraka means. And I forget the late great editor of the Black Agenda Report, Glenn Ford, used to always say the Democratic Party is the more effective evil. And we're seeing that right here. And they're trying to pretend like this is not political. This is all political. But you saw in that Rachel Maddow, it slipped out. The liar, the quarter-pointed liar right here, it slipped out. Yeah. And then Lawrence O'Donnell had to reel her back in. Hold on, Rachel. We're in front of cameras.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
We're in front of cameras. Hold on.
and people on Twitter was like, what is wrong with Rachel? It's unbelievable she said the quiet part out loud. And if you guys think that CJ is being all dramatic, absolutely not. Look at how the United States treat people who they consider their adversaries. So Nicolas Maduro, the United States called him a tyrant, authoritarian thug, because he, quote unquote, went after his opposition. What did his opposition do, you ask? Oh no, his opposition only colluded with foreign powers in order to assassinate the president. You know, Bolsonaro sent military hit squads into Venezuela, and the opposition party helped them. They colluded with death squads that wanted to kill Nicolas Maduro and his supporters. So, of course, when Nicolas Maduro government said, okay, that's illegal, you guys are going to prison, guess what the United States did? They said Nicolas Maduro is prosecuting his political enemies. Yeah, Bernie Sanders. Remember, Bernie Sanders said that Nicolas Maduro is a tyrant and a thug. Why? Why do people call Nicolas Maduro a tyrant and a thug? For financial mishandling? Because that's what a lot of people say. He's a failed leader who mishandled his economy. How dare Nicolas Maduro not have the ability to maneuver past the Western government sanctioning his country? The Bank of England stole billions of dollars of their gold, but how dare he not able to manufacture and maneuver around that? So there's that criticism. Then there's the criticism that he's an authoritarian tyrant. That only comes from the liberals criticizing how he treated his opposition. The same opposition who collude with foreign powers. Now, compare that to how they treat Donald Trump. They are trying to ban him from running and throwing him in prison for a simple mishandling of documents, a white-collar crime that they all do. Way less significant than what Nicolas Maduro opposition was trying to do to him. But Nicolas Maduro is called thug for that.
What I think about this, Nick, is that they can't, they want working class people to care about these white collar corporate sort of crimes, and we don't, and we shouldn't care about this. This is really just public ruling class infighting, and they're just trying to joust each other and jab at each other and see who can win the election. That's all, and we shouldn't get all emotionally involved in these cases one way or the another. It really is irrelevant whether he's guilty. Of course he is, just like Joe Biden, just like Hillary Clinton. They're all guilty, and that is the point. But they want us to be upset and criminalize a specific niche behavior that only this particular criminal is doing, and get us to buy into it. And I'm just not going to be doing that. Go ahead.
Imagine being a worker and being invested in capitalist infighting. So these stories are always hilarious to me because I take advantage of capitalist infighting to point out contradictions, just like I just did. So this story I just used to point out U.S. hypocrisy regarding Venezuela. So it has a narrative benefit for me. Can you imagine being people like TYT, shitheads, status quo shitheads, people who are actually invested in red blue capitalist infighting, which this is? That is literally what this is. This is nothing more than a laugh, laughing at their infighting, taking advantage of their divisions, correct? But we shouldn't be that invested in this. We need to, at the end of the day, focus on calling out the contradiction of the ruling class and organizing ourselves. But we can use these stories to point out how both parties are full of shit, how Democrats are implementing the fascism that they claim they are fighting. That if they call Nicolas Maduro a thug and a tyrant, you must call all the Democrats that are going after Donald Trump. Because it's the same concept, the same belief. What's up with the hate? It's weaponized hypocrisy. Remember, weaponized hypocrisy is what? One of the highest forms of corruption. So now I'm gonna show you this video from my brother, my good friend Nico House. Cause he commented on this. I saw this earlier today.
I don't think I've seen it yet.
So I actually want to get your reaction. Nico puts out these great videos.
That's right. Biden is under investigation for mishandling classified documents too. But you probably didn't know about it because the media hasn't talked about it. Now, at first glance, when you hear about classified documents, you probably think I'm talking about Donald Trump because they ran up in his Mar-a-Lago home and wouldn't shut up about it in the mainstream media for weeks. But with Biden, not only have you not heard about it, but he hasn't been indicted. In fact, he hasn't even been interviewed about the way he's mishandled classified documents. But it gets even deeper because the entire situation with Trump may have been politically motivated like we all thought it was, because a special order revealed that Biden might have been directly involved in the Trump raid. Gasp! And this tweet perfectly outlines the problem. Too many people want to believe that Trump is uniquely corrupt and Biden is not as corrupt, except for Biden is currently the president and his Justice Department is pursuing his issue completely and totally differently than they're pursuing the exact same issue of a former president who also happens to be Biden's political competition. So as an independent, my question for Democrats is, if Trump was doing this to Biden, what would y'all have to say about it?
And there are a ton of liberals that are upset that people are calling out this blatant hypocrisy. We have standards. We have standards like this. Everyone who's not a blue, vote blue, no matter who shit live, or understand this contradiction. So I'm gonna show you this tweet here. Everyone who's a Democrat knows that it's obvious to everyone who's not part of the team that this is a political hit job, but that this is a way to go after the political opponent. That's obvious because everyone in the ruling class is guilty of what Trump has been doing. So look at how they've been responding to this basic fact, CJ, of people like RBN, Jimmy Dore, Glenn Greenwald, and many of our friends, the Convo Couch, and many others, calling out this bullshit. Look at this. He said, this guy, Shant, this Democrat guy, said, the job of the online left journal intellectual influencer nerd is to provide a steady stream of talking points that appear principled and extremely independent of the party, while coincidentally managing to completely align with the interests of the party at any time. So what he's saying is in an initial tweet, he said, I have so much more respect for the average liberal who is openly celebrating the indictment of a political enemy over the corny leftist influencer who all of a sudden who wants to have an intellectual conversation about the importance of prosecuting politicians for their crimes. So this guy is upset at people like us, people like Glenn, who calls out the weaponization of the government no matter who does it. He said, I respect the partisans. I respect the people who don't give a fuck about principles. That's literally how broken-brained a lot of these people are. So this is the
anti-woke, anti-intellectualism that's going on. Anti-woke. That's literally what anti-woke. You're literally saying you don't want to be conscious to what's going on. That's literally what you're saying when you're against that. But go ahead.
Yeah. So this is really the mindset of the liberal class. They're like, yeah, we are hypocrites, but if it does not help if it helps our cause to defeat Republicans, the end justify the means. And they view people like us who stands on principle, who wanted to call out both sides for their hypocrisy. They view us with a extreme amount of disdain. This is the cowbell left that our brothers that do dissidents expose. And Keenan brings up a great point where he said, you guys want to take over the Democratic Party. You guys have way too much respect for their diehard voters. Like I'm talking about the people who shows up for Amy Klobuchar. Who's the person who actually put weight behind Jim Clyburn's endorsement? Like who was these
Buttigieg.
people that was
Pete
30%
Buttigieg.
militantly against Bernie Sanders and the Democratic Party? These are the shit libs that are culturally for the Democratic Party. They're not being tricked. They're not being conned.
Right.
They will ride or die support the Democratic Party. They don't care how bad it looks because they understand it's class warfare. I told you guys on the campaign trail, I had better conversations with the redneck conservative in South Carolina than I did the Amy Klobuchar supporting liberal, the Pete Buttigieg supporting liberal, because they understand their class dynamics more than anybody, and they act on that. But CJ, anything else you want to add? And
I do. Excuse me. I do want to add a couple of things here. This headline here, I posted it. Let me see. I'm sorry. I said post. The right word is tweeted, right? Tweet. I tweeted it out. This is it here. And this headline comes from World Socialist website. The Trump indictment and the national security secrets of the state. I do want to read a couple of excerpts, but the first one I want to read is this one I posted along with that headline. And we'll get to this particular part in the article that I'm going to read, but look at this here. It reads, this is a quote from the article, a significant section of the state apparatus clearly hopes that the indictment will contribute to driving Trump out of politics. This effort is motivated in particular by Trump's stated position on the Ukraine NATO war against Russia over Ukraine, end quote. Now, I want to insert this particular part. Now, they may know he's not really going to do it, but there's certain things for the ruling class, for the Morning Joe sort of politics, you just don't say in polite company. You don't say that in public company for the peasants to hear. There's just certain things you don't do, and they believe this is one of them. So I've thought that when he came out against the Ukraine thing, I said, oh, they're going to turn shit up on this guy. They're going to turn it up because they cannot have this particular viewpoint being mainstream throughout many different debates. How many times are they going to talk about Ukraine? The main thing they have to talk about it. They have to get Ron DeSantis. Nick, have you noticed the cheerleading, CNN, Morning Joe? They're literally cheerleading for Ron DeSantis. You're making this mistake, man. Come on, you got to do this. Bring it to him. They literally want Ron DeSantis in because after he has backtracked on what he said about Ukraine, they'll take him over Donald Trump because they just simply do not trust Donald Trump. And I'm going to go to the particular article here and read it. And it reads along the same lines, Nick. If you remember the article, I think it was something like Trump Witch Hunt, and it was written by Margaret Kimberly. We covered it from the first case that would just happen like a couple of weeks ago or months ago or something like that. We talked about that, but it kind of mimics along those lines. But I do want to read this because it involves the Espionage Act too, which is ridiculous. Is absolutely absurd. But anytime for us, what do we say? I don't know the exact phrasing used. Anytime you see in the Espionage Act being included, you can guarantee that's some bullshit that's going on.
Yeah, I'm glad he brought that up.
You can guarantee. Yeah, you can guarantee it's some bullshit going on.
And you know, there's a coordinated effort, and that's why they want to get Trump on the Espionage Act, because they want people to accept the precedent, accept the use of the Patriot Act, and they're using Donald Trump as a way to kind of rehabilitate. I'm sorry, not the Patriot, but the Espionage Act.
Espionage Act.
And they're using Donald Trump as a way to rehabilitate the Espionage Act, to normalize it among public. So they don't want Julian Assange to be the only person that they got with the Espionage Act recently. Yeah. They were like, oh, we got Donald Trump with the Espionage Act, so are you a Trumper now if you speak out against the Espionage Act? And they wanted to be already established precedent. We need to completely reject all uses of the Espionage Act, 100%. And I see liberals celebrating this. I saw some liberals, I think I did a breakdown of them before, where they said, when they were celebrating, they're like, if you violate the Espionage Act, that is punishable by death. And they was laughing at it.
What? They're laughing?
They was like, see, we can get Trump because he violated the Espionage Act. Hint, hint, wink, wink, nod, nod. That's prosecutable and that's punishable by death. So I'm like, you guys want the U.S. government to have the power to just execute people they view guilty of the Espionage Act? That's why the modern liberal in the Democratic Party is the larger supporter of fascism. In terms of not just overseas with the Zionist movement and the neo-Nazis in Ukraine, but what the domestic policies they're implementing with the Capitol Police giving them spying powers and the federal government use of the Espionage Act. And there are liberal journalists like the guy I showed you before who have nothing but disdain towards leftists like us who are calling out liberal government power overreach. But you can continue, CJ.
Absolutely. Yeah, so let me read a couple of excerpts. I see some of the guests showing up. So it's rounding out real right perfectly for them to be inserted here. So let me read this. So the indictment of Donald Trump under the Espionage Act and for conspiring to withhold information from federal prosecutors both exposes and accelerates an unprecedented political crisis within the United States. This, like, we're so far. This is such an indication of how this shit is so collapsing, Nick. This is so collapsing right before our eyes. This is so unprecedented that a former president, a candidate running, is being charged with an espionage. This is so ridiculous. So ridiculous. But it's informative of what's happening right now. Let me continue. The indictment of a former president for, quote, endangering national security, end quote, is itself extraordinary. The first time that the Justice Department has taken such an action. But Trump is not only a former president, he is the leading candidate of the Republican Party in the 2024 elections. The indictment will dominate American politics for at least a year, involving all the institutions of government, from the Supreme Court to Congress and the states. Let me pause there. This is the game, though they're not playing here. The way that they're going at them through this particular Espionage Act. Now you have governmental agencies, and you see what they will bring down upon you if they don't want you around, Nick. You see what they will do under the cloak of justice. It's just truly astonishing to me as a person who has kind of reads about history. This is freaking astonishing to me that they're doing this to him. Even going this far, I must say I'm a little shocked. Let's continue. How the election will even proceed under these circumstances is unclear. Involved in the decision to indict Trump is far more than the individual deliberations of Special Counsel Jack Smith, who was appointed by U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland to head investigation into Trump last November, and the 23 members of the grand jury in South Florida. As the 2024 elections approach, a significant section of the state apparatus clearly hopes that the indictment will contribute to driving Trump out of politics. This effort is motivated in particular by Trump's stated position on the U.S.-NATO war against Russia. It is critical. This is the part I need people to really zone in on. It is critical for the working class to have a clear understanding of the implications and driving forces of the conflict. There is no democratic content to the indictment of Trump based on the Espionage Act, a reactionary law that has been used against Eugene Debs, the Rosenbergs, Daniel Ellsberg, Julian Assange, and Edward Snowden. While the fantastical, I'm pretty sure I'm saying that wrong, arch-imperialist Trump is no opponent of the war machine, workers have no interest in safeguarding the secrets of the ruling class and its state. And that was the point that I was trying to make earlier. This ain't none of our business. Like, this is really just ruling class infighting. And I'll end it there and kind of put a button on this particular segment. This is fascism. The Democratic Party is the party that is blatantly and publicly showing the most signs of fascism with their censorship over things like COVID, over other things, the Twitter files, and then you have this type of stuff where they're literally going at it, using the governmental apparatus, both state and federal, to go after this person who clearly has committed crimes. This is not about guilt or innocence. This is about going after and jailing your political opponents when you are a criminal yourself. Any last words, Nick?
I think both parties believe in this stuff, this fascism. But what did Glenn Ford said? What party is the most effective at implementing it? So when we say the Democratic Party is the party implementing fascism, not that the Republicans don't. Not that Republicans aren't. They don't want to spend ICE. They don't want to spend the military-industrial complex. They don't want to spend all these government overreach processes. But they're not able to as much as Democrats. Joe Biden come in, they're like, man, we don't fund ICE more than Trump easily. Trump and them confused, like, what's the opposition at? Well, LC crying, Biden like, bro, I'm a gangster. It's like, I can do this. We do this stuff. And this understanding that the Democratic Party is not only are they not the lesser of two evil, but they are the most efficient. They are the head. They are the captain of the establishment. And most of the time, the Republicans, like the doofus, second in command. Whenever the Republicans overreach, whenever they get unpopular, then you got the captain step in. Bill Clinton, for example. Yeah, Ronald Reagan. He's the doofus. He's out there first, right? Then Bill Clinton steps aside after Ronald Reagan and his political cronies expand their political capital, and he did everything that Ronald Reagan couldn't do. Privatize.
Think about that, Nick.
Go ahead.
Think about that. The presidents, just think about just the last few presidents. Barack Obama instituted a tax break for the billionaires that the Republicans could never get through. That's Barack Obama. And then the previous Democrat president from that was what? Bill Clinton. You know how many bad legislation we have to really one time do a show on Bill Clinton. He is by far, legislation-wise, has got so much damage to this country. Go ahead. Yeah, that's Bill Clinton. And then you go back. It's just, I'm telling you, the Republicans are flat. They're bad. They're dangerous. And then you go, let's go with this lesser of two. And then they roll out the worse policies than the Republicans were talking about. But go ahead.
And this realization is why we advocate for third parties. Now, I'm a Marxist. I believe in having a Marxist, socialist third party and foundations based on that. But right now, we need organizations outside the two-party duopoly of both is corrupt. Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to allow options for third party to become corrupted, to be unmanageable by the workers. So it's our job as activists to get in the game, see what party actually represent our interests. I voted for the Green Party twice in 2020, and I voted for Joe Stein in 2016. I supported the party for quite some time. And now there are a lot of discussions over what third party to support. Dr. Cornel West running in the People's Party. And you're seeing the Green Party making a lot of decisions over the last few years that was influenced largely by the Howie Hawkins wing that has done a ton of damage to left third parties. But any idea of going through the Democratic Party, like the amazing political analysis that come from the leftist mafia, and many of them, they still believe that the Democratic Party is the path to go through. That is absolutely not the case. That we need to come together as a people, and we need to come together and brainstorm what is the best path for a third party. I believe in a third party that mostly based on mutual aid, community building, organizing, giving people ballot options, but actually fighting for the material conditions of the ordinary people, correct? But it has to be done outside of the capitalist model that we have now. That's a core tenet of what it means to be a Marxist, what it means to be a socialist. You must build socialist organizations. You, as a socialist, do not become a part of a capitalist institution and allow it to whitewash and water your positions down like many people in the United States have done many times before. So with that preface, I want to introduce my friends. I want to get the people, my friends from the Green Party on. We got Justin, Beth, and Stephanie from the Green Party. I want to start with Justin. So we get some proper introductions for you guys. Introduce yourself, your name, and your how long you've been with the Green Party, and and why you organized with the Green Party over the last few years, just so people get to know who you guys are. We start with Justin, we go Stephanie afterwards.
Well, thank you, Nick, and thank you, CJ, and thank you, Stephanie, because you've been talking with them about getting us on the show and, you know, talking a little bit about the Green Party. So I, Justin Beth, I'm in Maine, and I joined the Green Party in 2016, 2017. I helped out on Jill Stein's campaign. Prior to that, I was a delegate for Bernie Sanders, and I was a national level delegate. So I was at the convention down at the Wells Fargo Center in Philly. And the first time I met Jill or saw Jill Stein, I saw her in person there at the convention. She somehow got inside, and I left, you know, with a Jill Stein sign. You know, we when they coronated Hillary, we went out to the media tent. I wish that all my brothers and sisters that came out with me there, you know, all of us together, if we just kept walking, right, and into the Green Party. And that's kind of where I've been at with this. So since 2017, and got involved at my state party, and then I also got involved at the national level. So I've been actually between the end of 2018 and 2020, I was actually a co-chair and involved in a number of different committees on Green Party of the United States. And now I'm doing some really cool stuff with Stephanie and some other folks here. I'm really excited to talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And with that said, I want to pass it to my friend Stephanie. I knew for a while on Twitter. Finally, good to have you on the show. Just for people who don't know you, explain how long you've been organizing with the Green Party, and why you got started with them.
It is amazing to finally meet you guys. So thank you so much for bringing us on. I actually first voted for the Green Party back in like 2003 during the Gray Davis recall out in California. But wow. I live in Georgia now, and as you guys know, the party here has been unaffiliated because of some issues that happened. So I started volunteering when Bernie stepped down. I actually contacted Justin and I said, I want to join Howie's campaign. I want to help Howie's campaign because I had been voting Green in the presidential race, and he got me on. So I kind of, from there just kept meeting people, and you guys know all the activism we've been doing online, and Twitter grew, and then Matt Ho joined his campaign for North Carolina, even though I'm in Georgia. And that was just such an amazing campaign that a bunch of us from his campaign decided to stay together and fight for ballot access. And you guys see us doing that now. That's the big thing that we've got going on now, is trying to get more Greens and independents on the ballot across the country, because a lot of people don't understand the how crazy it is to try to be able to get on the ballot because of all the horrible things that Democrats and Republicans have done to limit our ballot access. And so that is kind of the big thing we're working on now.
And that's another part of the Democratic fascism. I report on that from my earliest days as a citizen journalist, of how Wisconsin Democrats successfully kicked Green Party off the ballot over there. There are quite a few examples of that, and they're becoming more aggressive doing that. And I've seen liberals respond to stories like that, and they cheer it. Yeah, of course, get off the ballot. They openly don't believe in democracy. They only believe in democracy as long as their team win, and that we know that's not actually democracy. Now, you mentioned that you was part of the Howie campaign, and we gotta knock this out first. I'm gonna share my screen here because I was a proud Jill Stein voter in 2016, and I used to tell people afterwards all the time. I used to brag over that shit. Why those people voter shaming people? Oh, you're the reason why we got Trump. You goddamn right. Hey, you guys know I voted for Jill Stein. I told everyone, you guys know I voted for Jill Stein. And I was so happy about it. Now, even now, I'm still happy that I did vote for Joe Biden. If I voted for Joe Biden, I wouldn't be able to sleep at night, right? I'm still happy that I didn't do that. But it's not the same. Man, I voted for a fucking Russiagator. I voted for a guy who fought for every single U.S. talking point when it comes to war. Now, I'm going to share my screen here. And the reason why I say that is because the Green Party lost an unbelievable amount of goodwill. And I am not trying to influence your guys' opinion. I'm legitimately asking you guys your opinion on this. Because if this is the future of the Green Party, not only am I not interested, I'm telling you, this shit's going to be dead. This is going to be dead. And this is Howie Hawkins saying, stop pressuring Ukraine to accept partition, backing up funding Ukrainian Nazis, the same way he supported Russiagate. He also pushed the lesser two evils. I had an interview on my show with the guy that was unbelievable.
It was terrible.
I gave him so many chances to back off from his bad takes, but he just kept doubling down. So I started with Justin first. I'll pass it to Stephanie now. Like, what is your take? What do you guys think? Do you guys agree with my assessment? I don't want to put any words in your mouth, so I'll start there. Do you guys agree with my assessment of Howie Hawkins? What do you guys think I'm getting right? What do you guys think I'm getting wrong? Do you guys think that Howie Hawkins' wing is the more potent, influential wing of the party right now? Once again, we start with Stephanie and we get Justin in after that.
Sure. So, I don't want to diminish or take away from Howie's activism. He is an amazing activist and he has done amazing things. And you guys probably know that in the 1960s, he refused to join the Democratic Party because they wouldn't seat the Black caucus at their convention. So for him to have, and I worked on his campaign, so for him to have suddenly become pro-Ukraine, and I just would like to say that I'm tired of people saying Ukraine is defending themselves. No, they're not. They instigated this. They joined with NATO and they violated their Minsk Accord. They let the United States put all these biolabs on their borders, and they knew what they were doing. So, terrible. So to have watched Howie suddenly have jumped on this in defense of Ukraine has been mortifying. And I know you guys have probably seen, I have publicly been calling him out for it. I respect his activism. I want him to go back to doing that, but he does not lead the Green Party, and I'm kind of getting tired of him to defend that.
Yeah, go ahead, Justin, if you want to chime in on that point.
Yeah,
and feel free if you have a different opinion. We like to always interject this because we don't want people to feel like, bandwagon. If you have a different opinion, absolutely express that. Go ahead.
Yeah. No. So.
I think he froze a second. Hang on 1 second. Justin,
it's funny because
can barely hear you.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah,
there we go. Now we can
I've got a
see
really old laptop.
Okay, go ahead.
So Stephanie mentioned that I helped connect her with Howie's campaign, and I don't really remember that.
He's like, don't blame that on me.
I was not friendly with the Howie people. Oh, my froze again. Hello, am I froze again?
I think I can hear you now. If you said something before that, I didn't hear you.
Okay. So I was just saying I don't remember connecting Stephanie with Howie's campaign because I was not friendly with the Howie folks. I a lot of them were so when I became co-chair, when I was elected, I was filling a vacancy position, and it was pretty much a battle between the Hawkins wing of the party and the Jill Stein wing of the party, and I felt like I kind of represented the Jill Stein wing of the party. And I ended up winning that seat, that vacancy. And so that was in like 2018, 2019. And I was also involved with the Presidential Campaign Support Committee and on the steering committee. So I kind of tried to remain pretty neutral. But one of the things we were doing is we were trying to recruit people. And now I've just become elected to the steering committee. And I saw that our best option for 2020 was to have a kind of high profile name running for our nomination. And I had heard rumors about Jesse Ventura expressing interest. So I figured out a very sneaky way. I'm not going to get into the details of it, of how to get my name to Jesse Ventura. And basically somebody shared my email with him, and he wrote back to me and said, okay, interested in talking with you guys. And it was me and another guy. My hope was to get us a far better candidate that would have really put us on the map in 2020. That said, there were a lot of things working against us. Jesse wasn't as helpful for this, right? And that's a far bigger story maybe than we have time for. And maybe we can touch on it a little bit more, in regards to, hey, does the Green Party rig its primaries, whatever.
Yeah, I was going to ask that. So hold that thought. That's definitely a question I'm going to get to. But go ahead, Justin.
Yeah, and so but that was my hope, is to get Jesse, to run. So anyways, I had met Howie a number of times, and I appreciate, again, his activism. He's strong on socialism, workers' rights, unionization, right? So if I'm engaging with Howie on that kind of stuff, I'm good. But really, I mean, I know a lot of Greens that are just really leaving Howie behind now, and they don't want anything to do with him. People that have had a lifelong experience with him, right, and huge amounts of history, are walking away from him. And in fact, the steering committee. So there's a lot of questions about the Green Party leadership. The leadership of the Green Party is the people. There's a 9-person steering committee that's elected by the National Committee, which is about 150 plus people from all over the Green Party of the United States. And so the decisions are made by the National Committee. The steering committee kind of helps out with management. And but they basically, the 9-person steering committee, just last night maybe, they came up with a decision saying that Howie's gone too far, and that he has to put disclaimer on his whatever he's putting out there, that this is a personal opinion and does not reflect the views of the party. I just got that handed to me before this. So
yeah, that's big. That's how you know that he's gone off the rails. That the party don't want their name on him at all. So I'm gonna play this clip just in case you guys haven't seen it for new viewers. I played it before. This is Jamu Braca. I don't know. He got some clout in the Green Party. Kind of ran as vice president with Joe Stein. Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
He got a little bit of clout in the party. This is him saying that Howie Hawkins shouldn't be part of the party no more.
No, Howie has been a real disappointment. I, in fact, endorsed Howie in 2016, 2020, that is.
Yeah.
That basically, the tendency of, I wouldn't even say it's a tendency within the Green Party. I think Howie still represents to the Green Party's, I think, to what the Green Party really is, a minority tendency. That there's pushback. And so the way we deal with this within the Green Party is we've got to deal with it directly. And it's been happening. There's been a couple of debates on this issue of Ukraine. And I think Howie represents a minority tendency. I think, and I've said it quite openly, that Howie Hawkins should not be a member of the Green Party. Yes. He has violated the Green Party principles and values. And why he's still there is a mystery to me. So the Green Party itself has to be quite front and center and clear in articulating its position on violence and militarism, and
and that is literally what I'm asking. That's why I don't think I'm being unreasonable. Do the Green Party have bylaws or not? Are you allowed to be pro-war or not? It is that simple. Justin, it seems like you want to chime in, so go ahead, and I'll let the video play after you chime in.
So we do have bylaws, but it's not as easy as you'd think to kick somebody out of the party. And right now, Howie, I mentioned like the structure at the national level is 9-person steering committee, 150 plus members, right, representing all the different states, and we can have like delegates, alternate delegates, observers. So right now, Howie Hawkins is an observer to the national committee. That is all he is. So he writes these really annoying emails to the national committee, and everybody's just like, get off of it, Howie. And so it's he's an observer, and it's up to the state of New York that basically seats people to the national committee to, they could rescind his observer status on the national committee, which I hope they do, because I'm tired of seeing his emails. But that said, if Howie wants to run for president, he can still do it, right? We don't. It's like, we can get into like the whole nomination process, how that works, right? So if he wants to run for president, it's hard for us to say no, you can't run for president.
Yeah, I'm also asking it to be done in a democratic way. So I'm not asking for authoritarian measures be taken. Like, so if Howie Hawkins want to be part of the party, I'm talking about the party reject him, meaning like he has no route to that. Like, there's no route, there's no way that any Green Party mechanism will defend him because there's not enough people to do so. So that's kind of what I'm implying as well. Meaning the Green Party reject him. Like meaning he has no support. Like, why would anyone in the party support him? But sorry, Justin, if you want to finish your thought, that's kind of what I meant.
Yeah, just the Green Party in New York, it's really up to them if they want to have him on the national committee. And again, if somebody wants to run for president, right? It's hard for us to say no, you can't run for president if they're following our processes to run for president, right? We have like fair kind of established processes to say, hey, I want to be a nominee for president. So if Howie does that, I mean, it's hard to say no, you can't run for president. But we can make it very clear that he's not in line with our values, and we do that most effectively in the nomination process by saying no, we're not going to give you the nomination, Howie. And I think the poll that I put together there that you've got, I think, on deck will kind of show the level of support the lack of support that Howie now has.
So this is the straw poll you sent me. So we know it's Twitter, but this is still interesting considering the people that probably see your tweets. The same with me. I have more of a radical audience, so I'm sure the people that respond to your tweet are people who are more Green Party friendly, somewhere left, right? So here's the straw poll that Justin posted. Who would you vote for in the Green Party presidential nomination process if these was your choice? So if you guys are wondering whether the Green Party is filled with Howie Hawkins imperialists, only 6%. And who are those people? 6% support Cornel West. Cornel West, 93%. And I also think I speak against Howie Hawkins as well in the party. Anything you want to add on this? And then I'll finish. I'll let John move video finish. Anything else you want to add on this, Justin, Stephanie?
Well, Stephanie, maybe. Do you have any thoughts on that, or TJ?
Well,
No,
I mean,
you go ahead.
there's a sub poll under all that where people said, now do Howie Worth versus somebody else. Now do Howie. And then someone else put one, do Howie versus a potato. And the potato won.
The
potato won.
By similar numbers.
Potato won. So I guess that's a good point because, like, I would get blown out by Dr. Cornel West too, right? So I guess it will make Howie Hawkins look better than he actually does. But like in general, people are just tired of Howie Hawkins. That's a great point that you're making, Stephanie. I'm gonna go back to this here. I'm gonna let John finish his thought, and then we move on to the next part of this.
Articulating his position on violence and militarism, and to restate its commitment to nonviolent social change.
We had Jill Stein on, and a lot of people think like Jill Stein. Obviously, we have a Jamu on. I cannot emphasize this enough. A whole Green Party people listen. I have a few people reach out to me and say they have received this criticism and they working on it. But you guys have to immediately renounce Howie Hawkins. Howie Hawkins has done unbelievable amount of damage. Yeah. So I'll stop it here because you guys are just hearing my opinions again. That was a job move, essentially saying that Howie Hawkins has no business being members of the party. Any last thoughts on Howie Hawkins? His statement.
I think it's a mute. I think it's I'm going to interject this.
Go ahead.
To kind of interject into the conversation. I think it's kind of a moot point at this point. If speculation about Cornel West running, if we are able to convince him to run as a Green, this is really a moot point, and it's displayed in that poll because he demolishes him. Even if he went through a primary, Cornel West would demolish Howie Hawkins. But that's the type of thing I think like the Green Party needs. They need a big enough name to influence the party in the direction it should go. And a person like a Chris Hedges, like even I don't know if Shama Sawan is big enough yet, but definitely like a Chris Hedges or even a Cornel West would be able to do something like that, even over Howie Hawkins' influence. You get what I'm saying? It has to be somebody else.
Yeah, remember, guys, Howie Hawkins and Jill Stein are not outside, like they're not big names at all.
Mm-hmm.
Like Jill Stein became a name because of her runs with the Green Party. Like, who is someone who is big and then joins a third party? Which is why Dr. Cornel West potentially offers one of the biggest threats to the two-party duopoly. Like Jill Stein herself, unlike Holly Hawkins, and I still maintain this to this day, was an amazing candidate. Like, do you guys remember Jill Stein being interviewed by people on CNN and all these neoliberals, New York Times people, and they thought that she was like a dum-dum, and then they would try to interview her, and Jill Stein used to destroy these people. Like, unlike Howie, like, you know how AOC had interviews and AOC sound like a dumbass? Like Cory Bush, Rashida Tlaib, they sound like dumbasses, they horrible leaders for the left. That was not Jill Stein. They started a media blackout because they tried to make Jill Stein look like a loon, and they realized they could not do it. So they started like, all right, we can't have her on media. So there was a point, people forget about this. There was a point where Jill Stein hit 7% in the polls. This is something that's completely forgotten about. Because when you get over 5%, you get federal funding. Now we're talking about game-changing support for a third party. So I remember this clear as day because I was very invested in Jill Stein's campaign. I remember around this time, and this is when you saw the shift. They immediately started calling her a Russian plant, a traitor to our country. You started seeing anti-third party propaganda really, really escalate in this country. And now people preach it like gospel, like on Leftist Mafia and other quote-unquote independent media channels. They repeat the same anti-third party bullshit that started around this time. Imagine Jill Stein getting 7%. Hillary and the Democratic machine was melting down. They stopped inviting her. They smeared her as a Russian plant. They started pumping people with anti-third party propaganda, and that number started to unfortunately fall. But imagine what would happen if you had someone who actually had a decent name starting off the jump, going with the party like Dr. Cornel West. So I'm kind of doing a small presentation now, and I will get you guys in here because you see a lot of the myths of running as a third-party candidate being shattered. This is from Politico, and this is from Politico. Like I can show you stories from the Washington Post. There's stories in The Nation. They did segments on MSNBC. Independent media has to do, like, you got leftist mafia and many of these shit libs that reluctantly respond to this, like, God damn it, how can we address it? Because it's such a big story that Dr. Cornel West is running third party. Now, our theory has always been, if you have a big name like Dr. Cornel West, the media can't ignore this phenomenon. If you have someone that had the ability to take 5%, what are you going to do, ignore that? That's ridiculous. They can't allow it to happen. So the previous bullshit narrative that you've seen Marianne Williamson supporters repeat, RFK supporters repeat, they say we can't run outside the Democratic Party because if we run outside the Democratic Party, we won't get media attention. Thank you, Dr. Cornel West, for showing that to be blatantly false. Dr. Cornel West got way more media coverage than Marianne Williamson did when she announced already. That's what I'm going to start with.
And because the reason you need a big enough name is for what's happening now. They understand this is a threat because of his name. That's why you see the panic in all these articles. I mean, like literal panic in the headline, like something like some phrasing like Dr. Cornel West should not be running for president or something along those lines. Yeah, something, no business running. That's it. And it's just showing clear panic. But it speaks to the point that you make, Nick, is that the name needs to be big enough in order to bring. This is why I was so disappointed in hearing Chris Hedges and Shama Sawant talk about the conversation they had with Bernie Sanders and how he turned down. Like, hey, why don't you run third party? Why don't you go, Green Party, now that they're doing this to you, go this way so you can start a movement. And he says, no. But I can't think of another person, Nick. I can't think of another person. I've tried to, since he's announced, that will be better fit. Big enough name, doesn't have a lot of dirt. Everybody likes him, like literally everybody likes him. You get what I'm saying? I can't think of a better person that could actually start something if, and this is a big if if he ran with the Green Party. Your thoughts, anyway?
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead, Justin, if you want to chime in. Then I have a few more things to share, and I'm gonna get you guys back in there. Anything else you want to add before I continue?
Yeah, I mean, it's a historic. You know, a lot of people will say, "Oh, this is a historic election," right? But I mean, it really could be a transformational election with Cornel West running. Whether that's, you know, let's say, you know, as a Green Party candidate or as a, you know, a People's Party candidate right now, right? He's announced with the People's Party. There's been a lot of talks with the Green Party, but, you know, I think Cornel West is, you know, he's making his decision here on, you know, what's the best path forward to bring the left together and bring the people together, right? You know, it's Cornel is speaking to the left, people on the left and the right? The people that are in poverty, the people, you know, workers, the 99%, right? That's coming back to that. And so it is an amazing moment that we're living through right now with this. And I used to be like, when I think of like people with courage, I think of Jill Stein, right? But now you have Cornel West.
You guys had no idea how much chat and smear. But go ahead, Justin. Go ahead.
Oh, you know, but you know, I just want to put it out there. You know, now Cornel West is showing absolute huge amounts of courage to run as a third party candidate. And you know, it's been clear to me since 2016 that the only way that we can not be blocked by the Democratic Party is to run as third party candidates like this. So because their primary system is to prevent good people from getting on the ballot. If Cornel had run as a Democrat, there is no way we would be able to vote for him in the general election. And
that's the most important point.
Courage from Cornel West.
And that's the most important point and that's why I shake my head at shit libs like Crystal and the leftist mafia and their goons and their cronies. There's like this black panel that was like, why is he not running as a Democrat? Right? Like as if you have a chance in the Democrat. Do you understand if you run as a third party, you're not quitting after Super Tuesday. You have Crystal in the Democrat sycophants that say if you run the Democrat Party, you have a greater chance. Who's going to get more votes in the general? The third party candidate, which means who has the movement that keeps going, that's going to continue to push and advocate change? The third party movement. That's the obvious conclusion if you care, right?
Another thing that, you know, people will say, oh, you're running third party, it's unviable, right? But in 2016, Jill Stein was on enough states' ballots to win 97% of the Electoral College vote, while Bernie could win 0% of the Electoral College vote. So you want to talk about viability? The clearly more viable candidate is the person that was running third party and actually had a chance to win the election.
So I'm gonna be quick with this quick presentation, and then we're gonna because this is the big push that we want. We said this during the stream, and the funny thing, Dr. Cornel West and his wife was watching. That's how we're gonna have him come on the show on Wednesday. Because
they was watching our show.
Yeah, they were
watching our show.
What? Dr. Cornel West coming on Wednesday.
Wow.
His wife texted me, said they was watching our show, and they heard the criticism that we have in terms of strategy. And this shows, and this is a good sign to me because it shows that Cornel West is responsive to the movement. They're not like the squad, got a head, tunnel vision, not going to answer any questions. My way or the highway, he's listening to what the movement is saying. He's responding, and he's asked to come on our show. And that's why Dr. Cornel West is going to come on our show on Wednesday to discuss all the things that we asked for. And one thing we asked for was a potential unity ticket between the Green Party and NPP because such of the big threat that this posed. This unbelievably historical moment. And if the NPP and the Green Party cannot swallow the pride to make this happen, that's very damning for both organizations. So what I'm gonna say, let me do this quick presentation because it's gonna make my point here as I do this. So you had look at this from Politico. why some Dems fear Cornel West presents a unique challenge for Joe Biden. And the subheadline is the former Bernie Sanders surrogate maintains strong bonds in that world, and it's already showing. So what they're saying is that Cornel West is already an established progressive that many people respect in the left community. He's not like some crackpot that you can just say, oh, he's just some whack job running against the Democrat Party. No, this is an official, elite, academic, professional managerial class accepted person that is getting the issues like Israel-Palestine correct, right? They get economic issues right. And as you can get all the progressives to talk shit about RFK pretty easily, the point of this article, they said, if you read this article, I'm doing this for the sake of time, this article quote people like Ro Khanna, many people in the progressive caucus, they quote Rashid Tlaib as well, like, yeah, we're not going to support Dr. Cornel West because we're cowards, but we respect the guy. We're not going to say anything mean about him, right? So they're saying like this guy who has respect of the progressive community offers a threat. And now check this out. This is what I've been saying. Look, this is what they say in the article. I clipped this out to save you guys time. Unlike the other French candidates, mounting presidential campaigns, such as RFK and Marianne Williamson, West is not running as a Democrat. I repeat, one of the reasons why Politico says Dr. Cornel West offers a unique challenge to Biden is because he's not running as a Democrat. So, RFK fans, Marianne Wilson fans, who think you're fighting the establishment, no, the Democrats are thanking you for legitimizing their rigged process. Thank you for creating an opportunity to sheepfold more people to our party. Thank you for giving the illusion of someone challenging the president. You guys are not a threat. They are laughing at you. Meanwhile,
it's like if we have influence, Nick, like let's say there's two teams and one tryout is the Democrats and one tryout is the Green Party. You want to make a team. Do you think the Democrats will have more control over their own tryouts for the team or somebody else's tryouts for the team? You get what I'm saying? Like they have more control. So if you go, damn that Green Party group, I'm not going to their tryout. I'm going to go to the Democrat trials and prove we're going to make the Democrats. They're just looking like, oh my God, look at this clown right here coming over here. Like we don't rig this tryout here. It's so funny to me, but go ahead.
Yes, Stephanie, Justin, anything you want to add before I move on? There's one video I'm gonna play, and then I'm gonna ask you some final questions about the Green Party. We get you guys out of here. Stephanie, Justin, anything you guys want to chime in before?
I do. I want to make a point.
Go ahead.
We're kind of talking about Green Party and MPP fusion on a candidate, and I think we need to go way further than that. It needs to be the entire left. We on the left have something like 13 registered parties, if you count MPP, and I don't even think they're registered. And Green is the only party that is considered minority party status because we get on the ballot in at least 10 states. But if all those different parties came together and joined forces and had one candidate we all got behind, I think it would be epic, because if you look at all the parties that the liberals have, they have one. It's the Democrats, and they all unite behind the Democrats. So if we realize that we can all bring all of our forces together, get behind, say, Cornel West, fusion candidate, everybody support. We see this in California where the Green Party and the Peace and Freedom Party join forces and they get more votes. So imagine if instead of fighting over the minutia, we decided that the deal breakers were things like war and not, which podcaster we like this week. We decided that we could really, especially with somebody like Cornel West, we could change the game right now.
Like he's one of those people that is so legit that he exposes people that are trying to do this bullshit, tearing them down. Like they all look dumb. They all look dumb. Anyone can sniff it out. There's legitimate criticisms, but they're just the thing that the shit libs are doing. That is so obvious. It's so obvious. Like, and there's the people that say, man, if only Dr. Cornel West ran as a Democrat. How can you guys say that without feeling embarrassed? I cannot believe people are just saying it out loud. Now we see
They
No shame.
are shameless. So I would call them blue MAGA.
They are blue MAGA, and they don't think they are. That's the funny part. They think that because they support Bernie and progressive Democrats, they're like, I vote only progressive Democrats. No, you're a Democrat, sir. That's what you are. But Justin, do you want to chime in? I think I heard of you. Go ahead.
Yeah, my really old laptop is not, cooperating.
Yeah, we're all good. This is a proletariat network. Like we do this stuff all the time. It's all good.
So I was just gonna say, two things. First of all, there's a lot to talk about, like how we could do a fusion, with, or like some kind of there are ways it could be done, right? If Cornel is determined to stay with the People's Party, right? And, I know that he's got this history with Nick Brana, right? And, and it's been positive, right? It hasn't been, even though Nick has his things, right? I don't want to, Cornel and Nick, they have that history, and I think it was part of the reason that, talking to Nick is why Cornel even expressed interest in running at all. So that's one thing we can talk is about how we can make this work with the Green Party, People's Party, and bringing everybody together, like Stephanie said. Do you guys know the most successful third party in the U.S. history? This is a question that kind of comes up sometimes. Do you guys know what party would you say is the most successful third party in U.S. history?
The Whigs, right?
Oh.
I mean, the original Republican Party,
No.
the Democrat Party, like the Republican and Democratic third party. So I would say those two, right?
So yeah, Republican Party, yeah. So
yeah.
It was the Whig Party.
I was on the right track. I was somewhat on the right track.
But before the Republican Party came into existence, it was the Whigs and the Democrats. And the Whigs had a really bad election in 1848. They fell apart. They were split over the issue of slavery and abolition. And half of the party went to what's called the Free Soil Party, which was essentially the Green Party at that time, right? And they kind of swelled up and grew a little bit there. But then they coalesced with all these other third parties. And they eventually became the Republican Party, and they elected Abraham Lincoln in 1860. And then they had a civil war, and, the rest of history happened, right? So, I mean, we are on the cusp of something like that happening again, I think, hopefully not a violent civil war. Hopefully we can do it peacefully through an election process. But
people have no idea.
Yeah,
people have no idea how messed up our Overton window is. Like our Overton window makes no sense, even compared to my teenage years. Like things are like the Democrats are pro CIA. Like there's some Republicans who are accidentally anti-war. The Republicans are arguing for Medicare for all. They arguing for socialist policies, but they scared to call themselves socialists. So they call themselves populist, even though they believe in class conscious policies. Like we in a very weird time, and that's why it's weird that people who have political analysis that still sound like 2014, 15, you know what I mean? Things are completely different. My point I'm making is now, more than any other time, is now for a third party to rise when there's this drastic change of political discourse and consciousness. When there's this drastic shift of the Overton window, now is the best time for a third party to develop while people confused as fuck. People don't know what the hell is going on. Republicans are anti-war, Democrats are pro-CIA, Democrats are pro-Republicans are like, there's so many things going on. Now is when you do it. And that's why polls show that records of Americans want a third party. That's our headline that says 60% of Americans are willing to vote third party. That's why when people say that you can't run third party because you're not going to gain traction, you're not going to win, that doesn't make any sense based on the current mood that we are in, right? Now, I want to get to this video. And then the last part of my presentation, and I'm going to show the video that everyone been talking about for the last few days or show the headline of the Unity ticket that have everyone up in arms. That's that there's good communication. Like you guys hear from Justin and Stephanie, how you guys see how they put in the movement above ego, beyond the green branding. That's what we need. And if MPP or a Nick Brown or anyone can't put what's best for the movement over a personal ego, over like, oh, this is a chance for our brand. That just shows they're not serious, right? But there are serious people on the Green Party, as you guys see in this live stream, that want that to happen. But first, I'm going to show you guys why this is such a threat. Now, my ongoing theme of completely shattering the myth that third-party candidates can't get media coverage, because that's my goal. CJ, every single Democratic operative, every single Marianne Williamson supporter has used that excuse. She has to run Democrat, RFK has to run Democrat because they won't get media attention. You want to see who's getting primetime attention here? Some guy I can't stand, Jesse Waters. Now, let's let this video play as much as we can stomach. But Jesse Waters bring up a pretty important point. Believe it or not. Believe it or not. So I'm going to let the video play. I'm not going to preface this video a lot. But I'm going to show you guys how, if you are a big name, like we theorized, and you run third party, you can break through the blackout. Just out of the spectacle of the event. And that is what Justice Democrat sycophants refuse to acknowledge. They pretend that the media can just ignore a big name for the third party. It doesn't make sense. So let's show, and plus, this is a point I'll say this before a video. Plus, you guys forget that they pretend that Republicans won't take advantage. So this video is that. So how can the establishment ignore a third party when an entire Republican media apparatus is going to boost the third party and hope to hurt the Democrats? So the theory does not make sense at face value because of people like Jesse Waters. Imagine how many right-wingers are about to have Dr. Cornel West on because they think it's going to hurt Democrats. And that is what this segment is all about. And that's why the idea that third-party people wouldn't get media coverage was absurd. Now, watch this segment. This segment is like four days old now, but it's still worth playing. It's very fascinating. Listen. Let me turn it up. Probably like the first time I ever played Jesse Waters. He's pretty insufferable, but this segment is very interesting.
We like options. Walk down the grocery aisle, you got about 100 different brands of cereal. You can buy a car just about any shape, size, or color. You go to a diner, you can get anything from pancakes to rigatoni. Now, we have a ton of options in just about every aspect of our lives, except politics. And once you hit the general, you're left with two candidates, a Democrat and a Republican. And if you don't like either, you're out of luck. What about a third-party candidate? Back in 92, Ross Perot got 20% of the popular vote as a third-party candidate. He cost Bush the election.
Ross Perot struck a chord with voters and shook up America's political landscape in the process. In 1992 and 96, Ross Perot mobilized over 5 million voters to get him on the ballot and was the most successful third-party candidate in U.S. history.
A third-party candidate can be deadly in the general. Right now, half of Americans say they'd consider voting for a third party.
Half of Americans will consider voting for a third-party candidate. So with this fact known, how does it make sense for you as an anti-establishment person to run in the Democratic Party when half of the American populace are ready for a third-party candidate? That makes no sense, Marianne. That makes no sense, RFK. And we are not buying it no more. Those excuses makes no sense. Meanwhile, let's continue.
Party candidate if it's Trump versus Biden. So there's an open lane and someone's sliding in. His name's Cornel West.
In bleak times, I have decided to run for truth and justice, which takes the form of running for president of the United States as a candidate for the People's Party.
And Cornel West's a far left guy. There's an appetite on the left for a guy who's anti-war, anti-Wall Street, anti-big tech.
Bro, everyone sees it. This is fucking Jesse Waters saying the obvious, that the left is waiting for this shit instead of the squad. So as I continue to play the segment, I want you guys to realize that literally everyone sees what's going on here, except the Marianne Williamson left, though.
Mainstream socialists, AOC, Bernie, they've abandoned the people who voted for them once their party got in power. Now, Cornel is running with the People's Party, founded by one of Bernie's old staffers. The People's Party tried to recruit Bernie to run with him in 2020, but he thought he'd had a better chance running as a Democrat. Cornel doesn't trust the Democratic Party. He remembers how they kneecapped Bernie in 2016 and in 2020.
And the establishment of the Democratic Party that we almost pulled off with Brother Bernie.
We almost pulled it off, and then they all came together. The call from Obama, Pete drops out, Amy drops out. Next thing you know, they said anybody but Bernie. Why? Those corporate interests were being challenged. Why? Those militaristic policies were being at least examined.
The difference between Cornel and Bernie is that Bernie gets really quiet when there's a Democrat in the White House. Cornel doesn't.
Dude, Bernie Sanders' reputation has been he literally destroyed his reputation. That's who Bernie Sanders. That's his reputation now. He's the guy who stays silent when a Democrat is a president. That was not Bernie's reputation pre-2015. He completely ruined him.
You know how in the gutter you have failed when Jesse Waters can call you out. Like Jesse Waters is vile and disgusting. Like if he can call you out, like you have failed from your throne.
And we don't like Jesse Waters, but tell me what lie did he say in this segment thus far? He
not
said
one yet.
that Bernie Sanders and AOC abandoned their movement. Guys, everyone across the political aisle see what Bernie and the squad did. So imagine how much of a cuck you have to be to still be a Nina Turner supporter like Jordan and the TYT crew after seeing how they betrayed us. Everyone sees it. I'll let it continue to play. This is actually a rare W from Jesse Waters here. Okay, saying the obvious.
Now we've got to deal with the neoliberal disaster of Biden and Harris, and we've got to be very honest about it.
But he's milquetoast because he still is tied to Wall Street. He's got crimes of foreign policy.
We know Biden wouldn't be there, since Harris wouldn't be there if it wasn't for the black vote. You didn't deliver for black people. You delivered for Wall Street.
Now, if you go up against the entire Democratic machine, there's consequences. You're going to get smeared or maybe even worse.
Anytime you embark on a fallible pursuit of truth and justice, you focus on what you can do, how you can cultivate your own gifts and work with others in community in order to be a force for good. That you're always going to be misunderstood, misconstrued. You're always going to be attacked. There'll be character assassination, may even be a literal assassination. You just don't know.
RFK Jr., someone who knows a lot about political assassinations, already took a big bite out of Biden's base. Now, he's running as a Democrat and was polling at around 20%, but that was before primetime officially uninvited him. Now, Cornel's in the mix. He can suck up the far-left Democrats who are done with Joe, and there's a racial factor here, too. Biden's bleeding black and Hispanic voters. They thought they'd be better off under Biden, and now they realize they're dead wrong. That's a huge opportunity for Cornel. But he has an uphill battle. Unlike Ross Perot, Cornel's not a billionaire who can become a household name by buying up airtime. And to get on the ballot, Cornel needs to get thousands of signatures across all 50 states. That means he needs to put together an organized team with a strong ground game. Can the People's Party pull that off? We'll see. If there was ever a time to uproot the Democratic Party, it's now. Joe Biden's weak.
We need a new president.
This fucking guy.
There have been times where you've looked at him and you said,
So just real quick, the right wing brought Stephen A. Smith out, and there was headlines everywhere where Stephen A. Smith like Joe Biden shouldn't run for president. And then I looked at it, and of course there was zero material analysis there. This guy came out like Biden too old, he shouldn't be president. There was no analysis of why Biden should be. A shadow of analysis you can get. But anyway, sorry, I'll let it play.
I don't know. There are responsibilities that are far, far, far more extensive than, let's say, the typical 9 to 5 that somebody in their 80s may not need to.
That's the only argument he makes.
I think the presidency is one of them.
Now, Joe Biden's getting hit head on by his own party, and Republicans finally found a line of attack that cuts right to the heart of the race. Listen.
Let's be very clear. If they think it's going to be President Biden, a vote for President Biden is actually a vote for President Harris. We are running against Kamala Harris. Make no bones about it. The New York Times knows it. Every liberal knows it. They know that it's Kamala Harris that's going to end up being president of the United States if Joe Biden wins this election.
We are running against Kamala Harris right there. That's brilliant framing by Haley. It forces the Democrats into a space that hurts them. How do Democrats respond? Well, they have to talk about Biden's age, health, and mental capacity. And then they have to acknowledge that Kamala is next in line and defend Kamala Harris's capabilities. This is an incredibly awkward position for Democrats to be in. Binder was asked about this today, and she came up empty.
She also said that a vote for President Biden is a vote for Vice President Kamala Harris. What do you say to anyone who is questioning whether the president would survive a full 4-year term?
I'm not going to comment on the 2024. She is a candidate, so I want to be very careful here. We do follow the Hatch Act, so I want to be really, really mindful here.
The lady Biden hired to communicate can't communicate, and the lady he hired to be vice president can't be president. Joe Biden's entire family's under investigation. The country thinks the economy's garbage.
But yeah, that's pretty much the segment essentially over. But that was Jesse Waters explaining the problems that the Democrats have because they have RFK and John Trump. But Dr. Cornel West is a unique threat because what did we say, CJ? We need a mechanism that will get Black people used to not voting Democrat. What if he could be a potential launch-off pad where people will be like, "Oh, I don't have to vote Democrat." They're not options. See, my people already know that, right? But not everyone reached that conclusion. People were tired of Joe Biden. They see Dr. Cornel West like, all right, well, what if we start something new here? Well, we start, and when you look at the Green Party, which this is why I voted the way I did in 2020, because they supported reparations. They supported cutting the military budget by 70%. Like these are real left policies that actually will help the Black community, right?
Now
right.
you're speaking to Nick, the reason why, and I know the two of you, Stephanie and Justin, may not have seen our stream, but in those several streams, I think I was one of the more vocal people saying he absolutely cannot run for the MPP, and he absolutely must. We must make it happen to where he runs as a Green, and I was so forceful in that because I really believe in that. And so let me show this before we get everybody's reaction and close this out, because I know we're about to close this out, and I want to make sure, because I was going to go live just to report on this particular video.
Yeah.
But now this is kind of old news, but let's listen. But I was going to go live, I think, Saturday, specifically because of this video that came out. So let's play for everybody that has been waiting for us to kind of play it and talk about it. So let's listen.
Is this off the record?
So let me preface it because there's a couple of versions of this. So Brianna Joy Gray asked a question to Chris Hedges. Basically, you see all the functional problems with MPP. What can you do about setting up something, about doing something about this in the Green Party? We think the Green Party is a better avenue. And this is his reaction to that. First with a joke saying, is this off the record, pretty much? But of course it's on the record. It's being videotaped. Let's listen. Case Study QB shot this video. Oops.
Is this off the record? I've been playing with my phone because I set up a meeting with Cornel and the Green Party for tomorrow morning because of the issues you just raised.
So if you didn't hear it, I'm going to let it finish playing. I'll just say what he said. If based on some of the things, concerns you guys bring up here, I've already reached out and set up a meeting, not going to set up a meeting, but he says here, I set up a meeting with Cornel West in the Green Party tomorrow morning. This was said on Saturday. So tomorrow morning would have been yesterday. So let's continue and then we shall react.
That you would recommend a Green Party run in the alternative, or
I'm recommending that the Green Party, that Cornel runs as the Green Party.
Yes.
He says, I'm recommending that Cornel West runs as a Green Party, and that's in response to Brianna Joy Gray asking, well, so what is this conversation going to be like? Are you going to recommend that he runs for the Green Party? And then That was his response. Let's finish out the video. It has another minute to go.
But yeah, I share all your concerns, and just on the issue of ballot access, the People's Party app doesn't have any. And I, having worked with Ralph in his campaigns, I saw all of the impediments most of the Democratic Party throws to make it impossible for a third party candidate from the left to run. And part of it was challenging his petitions, which were all legitimate, they challenged them in court. They ran up over $1 million in legal fees that Ralph had to pay. So, I mean, just the all sorts of mechanisms. But I share all of your concerns. I mean, and I think that centering, getting, I mean, Howie Hawkins, who I like very much, I mean, he ran not just as a Green Party candidate, he had other smaller parties, but he had other, it was also a candidate. And I would like to see Cornel do the same.
So you heard that, he was just pointing out that Howie Hawkins kind of run under a couple of different parties when he ran. So, it is possible that he wants to see some sort of coalition between parties. So I'll throw it to you, Nick, or anyone who wants to kind of chime in and give their last thoughts on this segment before we close out.
Yeah, I want to get Justin, Stephanie. You guys can speak. On the potential unity. Go ahead.
Stephanie,
go ahead,
go
Justin.
first. Okay.
I'll go. So we basically sorry. Go ahead, Justin.
Oh, you got it, Stephanie.
Okay, so basically the MPP got ballot access in Florida. We have ballot access in roughly 21 states right now, or in the process of working on others. We've got an establishment set up. Last time when Jill was on the ballot, she was on the ballot in 47, 48 states. The MPP is not going to be able to do that quickly. So Cornel West is either going to get to spend his campaign helping them with ballot access, like Matt Ho did for his campaign in North Carolina, or he can campaign. And if he works with the Green Party, whether he comes over completely to us or we have a unity campaign, he would be able to focus on his campaign while we take care of ballot access.
That is a great point.
I just want to make sure everybody sees that we have a group that's working on ballot access for Greens and Independents. Anybody who wants to join us, they can go here and volunteer. And we would love to have more volunteers and help get more Independents and more Greens and more leftist candidates on the board. Small ego here. They don't have to be green. We are just green, so we push green. We'd love to see unity, though. Thanks for having us, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So if you're a third party activist, you got work to do,
Well said.
right? Because there was a lot of people who in bad faith who was attacking Cornel West because of his party affiliation. Meanwhile, people who are actually serious, look at how Chris Hedges respond. Look how Dr. Cornel West respond. All right, let's just merge the parties. What do you think is a bigger threat? There's a giant threat to the establishment. So I said before that we should be focused on taking over these third parties and bending them to our will. Because as you hear from Stephanie and Justin, the Green Party is just a party made up of people who agree with us and willing to build community with us. And if there are people turned off because of Howie Hawkins, as we demonstrated, he is a minority in this party, and many people in the Green Party will continue to hold him accountable and essentially make him unviable. So I think this is a good opportunity to do it the right way. And I'm gonna have a conversation with Dr. Cornel West on Wednesday, and I'm gonna ask some questions about strategy. Right? I don't want to hear the Marianne Williamson crystal ball bullshit. I'm gonna come on and win. I'm gonna be the next president of the United States. No, that means you don't know what's gonna happen. If you say that, you obviously don't know what's gonna happen. You don't have a plan. You don't have no long-term plan if you're saying that stuff. So I want to see what your long-term plan is. I want to see what your movement building movement strategy build is. But anyway, Justin, Stephanie, I'm gonna pass to you guys before I get you guys out of here. Justin, I'll start with you, and Stephanie, you gonna have any last thoughts, anything you want to promote before we pop you guys out as well? Go ahead, Justin.
So that the video there where at the workers' strike meeting, the expression on Chris Hedges' face, he looks so happy.
Yeah.
Right?
He does.
It's and so many people are saying, oh, I can't believe Cornel's running, but with People's Party. And again, I don't want to harp on Nick Brano or the People's Party. I want to just focus on how we can bring people together, right? And I would also point to the whole thing with, like, you guys did a great job covering it. Like, a lot of people kind of being really hypocritical on the managerial, the managerial class left, the Crystal Ball, the Vanguard, and they're saying it's great that Cornel's running, but with People's Party, he should be running as a Green Party candidate. So now, if Cornel comes over to the Green Party, what are they going to do? What are they going to do?
Yes. I can't wait.
Can't wait for that. So, I think it's going to happen, right? I'm hopeful it's going to happen. I think that, that conversation, when I saw the video, and by the way, that was like breaking news that you had there, CJ. It was like, because I saw it and I was like, wow. And
that video, the video, yes.
My first thought was the case of the QB video, and my initial thought was like, who is Chris talking with? Because I know many of the players in the Green Party, and there's some good people to talk with and some not so good people to talk with. Let's be honest. But I was hoping that Chris was talking to the right people, right? And I think he was, based on who I've been talking with. So, and I think those talks have gone well. And again, I don't want to assume that this is going to happen, but I am very optimistic and hopeful. And I want to, I'll wait until we hear it from Cornel's campaign. Regardless of how this works out, I think it's clear that, the Greens, People's Party, all these other people, like so many Americans, they want a third party. They all love Cornel West. And, I understand, we only talk about winning greater than 5%, but in 2016, I think Bernie could have won it. You look at,
as a Green?
As a Green. Yeah. If he had jumped on board when Jill Stein offered it, and now there's some complications to, Jill Stein offered, him the nomination. Could he accept it? All that stuff. But each state is an individual election for electors, and absolutely Bernie could have won it. Like, it's a three-way race, and you think of how unpopular Trump and Clinton were in 2016. Bernie could have won it. I think it's even more like Biden and Trump are so unpopular. I mean, why hold us back to just saying we're going to get 5%? And that poll that for Jesse Waters, 50% of Americans are ready for a third party. That leaves 50% between the Democrats and Republicans. So who wins in that race?
Who wins? That's a good point.
The third party candidate, the independent candidate. And that's, that is in line with the breakdown of people that identify as third party or independent. And so it's like roughly 50% is independent, 12.5% is Democrat, and 12.5%, 25% and 25% is Democrat and Republican. So it's, in those cases, 50%, the third party candidate wins. I'll leave it at that.
I'm gonna say this. Isn't this exciting? Like, isn't it exciting? This moment
very exciting.
Right now. Now I'm asking you guys this question: who are the real political nihilists? Don't you feel this energy, this excitement on our side?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
This energy, all this brainstorming we doing. We had panels last week. My God, this crazy moment we in. How can we capitalize? We got Green Party members. How can we capitalize? We got Dr. Cornel West on Wednesday. How can we capitalize? There's one faction on the left that's filled with political optimism. revolutionary optimism. Then there's another side that's filled with defeatism, that's filled with nihilism. There's no point. We can't win. We might as well vote Democrat. We might as well vote for Jim Crow Joe because we got no choice. There's no options. And CJ, we're gonna break this down after we pop them out. But you have people like this. The Nathan J. Robinson left.
I was just about to bring that up.
They are the nihilists. I am in Newsweek today lamenting the left lack of viable presidential campaigns. You guys see how none but defeatism for these people? None but defeatism for the progressive left. We got no choice but to vote Democrat. We had no choice but to take the shit that Joe Biden Democrat Party is giving us.
That is what you call nihilism. And Stephanie, we're gonna pop both of you out, but what can we expect from the Green? Is there anything coming up you want to announce, like meetings that you want to shout out? Anything you want to shout out for the Green Party before we pop you in the background here?
Yeah, we actually have a meeting this summer, and anybody can join. It's the fee to join is on a sliding scale. So there are people that, if you can't afford it, you can attend for free. And candidates are going to be talked about in the meeting. So, you know, that's certainly one to look out for. It's on the Green Party, the main Green Party page, and you'll see it floating around.
Awesome.
That's
anything else, Justin, you know about that you can shout out? Go ahead.
Well, that's the annual national meeting. And so, yeah, it's the big, like, normally it would be in person, but we're doing it virtual this year again. And, so I would say, she mentioned that there is a fee that's recommended there, but again, it's sliding scale. And it looks like it's kind of high when you see it. Okay. If you were to go to the webpage, but I do encourage if you can go and attend it, it's because it's not just about the candidates too. It's about workshops. And I mean, you can totally get immersed in what the Green Party is doing. And they really do use it as like a fundraising because it's like one of the biggest events for the Green Party for the year. So they are asking if people can contribute a little bit more. They do, but don't be scared from that. And I do recommend. When I first got getting more involved in the Green Party, I went to the annual national meeting in Utah, and it was a great experience to be there and actually in person with all these Greens from around the country, meeting Jill Stein for the first time, shaking her hand. And but this is virtual, but it's going to be we're going to be talking about what the Green Party actually is. A lot of people make assumptions about what the Green Party is, that, hey, they're not anti-war because Howie Hawkins is, putting out this crap, but that's not the case. I mean, and if you go to the annual national meeting, I think you'll see a little bit more about what the Green Party actually is. So,
that is a great point, and that's something we will shout. That's something we will shout out, Nick. So if you, and I'll pop you two in the back, Nick. If you, whenever Stephanie has that information and you retweet it, we'll shout it out in the show, so we can kind of take the last few minutes to kind of round out the conversation. That Nathan J. Robinson piece, he was just writing in his own current affairs not too long ago, Nick. Marianne Williamson is great. Now he's off of her. Now that he sees that she has no shot, in particular now that Cornel West, how sad these the Marianne Williamson camp is right now that Cornel West is in here. There's literally, what can you say? Because all of y'all, when you were selling this Marianne Williamson, you said, no, it's not because we like her. It's because she's the only left candidate and she's the best left candidate. Now there's a superior left candidate in the field. So what are you going to do now, Marianne Williamson supporters? You have somebody in the field that's better than her on left policy. Go ahead, Nick.
Can you imagine how embarrassed you would be if you were one of them early Marianne Williamson supporters? like if you was like Vanguard first, Crystal and Kyle level first, and you were one of the first people that supported her, and now her candidacy has been made completely irrelevant. Now mostly you see people talking about RFK and Cornel West. Like no one, especially after Cornel West getting in the race, no one's supporting him because anyone that would support Marianne Williamson over RFK or Cornel West, they're already the type of progressive that voting Democrat. You know what I mean? The type of person that would prefer Marianne Williamson to RFK, like Jordan from Status Quo. He's one of those people that prefer Marianne Williamson over RFK in a recent interview. He's a Biden voter. So there's no no one's gonna actually. There's no movement there. It's just Biden supporting Democrats who support Marianne Williamson. Not a great coalition to build. And then what we was asking, we didn't know what coalition she was ever looking to build. Well, let's dive into it. Let's dive into PMC Cope. People like Nathan J. Robinson, like RBN exists for a long time. Charlatans and fraudsters like Nathan J. Robinson will present themselves as leaders and thought leaders of the left. This guy is a union buster. Literally a union buster. His reputation has been in shambles ever since that. Ever since he was called out by his own staff for union busting. Now, there are a few people who support shit-lived Democratic takes who still support him, but no one gives this guy legitimacy on the left anymore after union busting. The same with Cenk Uygur. No one on the left gets legitimacy for TYT. Nathan J. Robinson, TYT, they are a relic of a gone age. And if they think they are part of the left now, oh, they are so delusional. They're so delusional. So here Nathan J. Robinson lamenting the left lack of viable presidential candidates. So CJ, I know you're probably asking, based on what Nathan J. Robinson's definition, what does it mean to be viable? I know when you say viable, what do you mean a viable candidate? So is it based on how much you like them? No. Because Nathan J. Robinson, he likes Dr. Cornel West and Marianne Williamson. You want to know what his criticism of them is? He said West should have ran as a Green or as a Democrat. So he likes Dr. Cornel West, but only if he was a Democrat. And he says if he was a Green, but that's about to be tested here very soon.
Yeah. No, they just throw that in, Nick. That's what I've been noticing. Yeah, they just throw that. Yeah. Oh, no, we would like him better if he runs as a Green. No, they don't. Because they're just saying that because they think he's not going to run as a Green. What they really want to say, oh, yeah, run as a Green, and then they'll go, or a Democrat even a Democrat. That's what they really want to go to. They want him to run as a Democrat, and Nathan J. Robinson is one of those people, I believe.
And then Nathan J. Robinson also says, the less said about Robert Kennedy Jr., the better. So that means he don't want people to talk about him. So Nathan J. Robinson canceled him to the point where he don't want people to even bring up Robert Kennedy Jr. So he likes Marianne Williamson, he likes Dr. Cornel West, but Robert Kennedy Jr. is canceled. So this is the thing we hit on all the time on the show. What is a cancelable offense for the professional managerial class? So he likes Marianne Williamson, so it's not the Zionism. Because RBN, we was done with RFK at the Zionism. The Zionism is canceled for RFK for RBN. But RFK, Nathan J. Robinson like Marianne. So it's not the Zionism for Nathan J. Robinson. So what is it? Guarantee you it's the COVID shit.
It's COVID.
So once again, we got another member of the professional managerial class, Nathan J. Robinson, who Marianne Williamson is okay. The person who's pro-war, who is a Zionist, who supports funding Nazis in Ukraine, he likes her, but he don't want people to talk about RFK because his COVID takes. You guys see the weird standard of the professional managerial class where people's health policy takes is the king, the big. You can be pro-war, you can be pro-Zionism, you can do all the shit you want to, but goddamn, you better not fucking question Fauci.
You tell me if that's not the definition of white moderate. The whole essence of them is the white moderate. They're like, it's okay with Palestine nuance. It's okay. Oh, but this COVID thing, the thing that could hurt workers. But no, that's a deal breaker. You see the ridiculousness in letting the professional managerial class sort of be the leading voices in these spaces. And this is why the RBN has been such a shock, and we have gotten such venom and such pushback because they thought we were joking, Nick, when we said, because it's always a season. On the left, it's a season from when we go, we're done with the Democrats, and then 2 months later, we're voting for them. It's a season. And we were like, no, this ain't no season, motherfucker. This is it. Like, no, this is it. No Democrat. And I remember I said it on Brianna Joy Gray's call-in show, The Debrief, with Katie Halper. And I said, no, RBN is here to say this is over. They
Yeah,
thought
I
I was
remember that.
joking. They
I
thought I was
remember that.
joking. I was serious. This is over. RBN is here to tell you there is no more of this, and they thought I was joking. And now hindsight 2020, they knew that Marianne Williamson was in talks to run at that time when I was saying that, but I was still saying that because I knew then it's over, and I'm even more, Nick, after seeing Breaking the Strike. Now I'm even more on that. Like, there's no way the Democratic Party. There's no path back to the Democratic Party for me. I burnt those bridges on purpose.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. If you don't know, LC and Bernie's blatant sellout killed all hope for the future professional managerial class. The members of the professional managerial class who wanted to be the next LC, they wanted to slay Queen like Rashid did. They don't realize that day is over, son. Like Marianne Williamson is still in shambles, now realizing that shit is over. All the future progressives that want to go RBN, I'm like, nah. They don't realize that shit is over. It's over. But anyway,
what are they going to do? What is the Bernie Sanders industrial complex? What are they going to do in the space where Cornel West is running as a Green? Your audience wants Democrats. You've cultivated a Democratic-loving audience. Go ahead, Nick.
I thought the progressives would be smart enough to carve their own space, but they're actually going down with the ship. They're going down with the Democratic Party ship. And they like, we're going to just, anyone who see us obviously selling up to the Democratic Party, we're going to smear as Dorites or Red Brown Alliance. And we just hope we can drag as many morons on this path as possible as we go down the Democratic Party ship as they endorse Joe Biden, right? But RBN, we said no. So that's all I have for today. CJ, I don't know if you had any other.
No, that's it. We can end it.
I'm in the middle of a big move this week, so this week I may be limited for me this week. We got the big Cornel West interview, and I should be moving after that. I
can hold it down. I'll hold it down during the day.
Yeah, so you probably gotta hold it down this week.
Yeah, I'll hold it
so,
down.
I gotta do a lot of packing tomorrow.
Yeah,
I gotta do a lot of packing tomorrow, so I'll be gone for RBN tomorrow. But I'll be back for the Dr. Cornel West interview. I'll be gone on Thursday. I may be back Friday. We saw everything going. I'll be in a new place trying to get everything figured out. So that's what we have. This week gonna be very exciting. CJ gonna hold it down for us here. The exciting part is with this new move, I'm not gonna be in this ghetto ass dining room. I had this very small place. I'm gonna have hopefully this is my own little recording place. I can have like a nice little studio. That's what I'm working on at the new place. So it's gonna next time when you see me after the Cornel West interview, you're gonna see a different background, hopefully. So that's all I have. CJ, anything else you have for announcements? Anything else? For
I'm gonna just use the. Go ahead. No. Oh yeah, we got super chat. Yeah, we gotta read. Yeah,
we have a few. Just a few here. Thank you for the super sticker abiding. Thank you for 99 cents. Thank you for the $2 mosaic. You misunderstood Shop's point. He's on our side. Not sure when they sent that, so I can't really respond. But I appreciate the super chat. Thank you, Christian999, for becoming a new member. And this is our friend from the post duopoly left. Kit, respect to RBN. Keep speaking truth to power. Big shout out to our homie Kit from Harlan's Media. This is our new member. Thank you for the $5. Preach, CJ, preach. When you get called out by Jesse Waters, it's a goddamn change. When you get called out by Jesse Waters without him looking like a clown.
I know.
Like if Jesse Waters is calling you out, he should do a segment that make him look bad. Like it should be one segment. Oh, look, Jesse Waters being an asshole again. You guys are so shitty. You gave him a rare moment of telling the truth. Like, how can you be so bad that Jesse Waters can just roast your ass and it'd be legit? That's how bad they are. But anyway, that's just appreciate the super chats. Live sign stuff coming up on RBN here soon. So much appreciated. Peace, CJ. I'll pop myself out. I'll pass to you, and I'll see you guys on Wednesday.
Yeah. So we'll close out with this special edit of the recent interview Due Dissidents did with Jordan Sheraton. But this is a special edit. Let me make sure I give the shout out. This is Joe. Shut the fuck up, shitlib 3. If you want to follow him on Twitter. But this is Joe. He had his old account closed or suspended, and he had to open a new one. So let's listen. It's a pretty good mashup here. It's about 2 minutes. I'll toss up some comments as we close out here. Thanks, everybody.
Welcome one and all to the Due Dissidents podcast. So I do want to start, of course, by introducing the founder and host of Status Coup, Jordan Sheridan. Jordan, thank you for being here tonight. I really do appreciate it, my friend.
I am ready to keep fighting, hopefully together. That's a very nice sentiment. Do you feel that over the last several months, where you've been attacking channels that disagree with you politically as grifters, assuming ill will on their part for having a difference of opinion in exactly the way that you accuse people of in the article, do you feel that's in keeping with the spirit of those sentiments?
You'd have to be a little more specific. Who are you talking about? Jimmy Dore, others?
Well, you mentioned Jimmy Dore and you mentioned some mini-me channels, as you like to call them.
I think there are just specific people that play for clicks. I mean, I don't really want to talk about Jimmy for an hour, but I knowing Jimmy, because I used to work with him and I used to be friends with him, how Jimmy talks now is not the Jimmy I knew 3-4 years ago. And people who know Jimmy will tell you that. Yeah, I definitely occasionally will say something if I still feel strongly, but it's just not to the degree that a lot of these channels spend all their time. I mean, the amount of time spent on Ryan Grimm and David Sirota and Crystal Ball. I mean, if you're going to say that's not for clicks, we just disagree. Yeah, I definitely occasionally will say something if I still feel strongly, like Jimmy Dore, including Jimmy, by the way. Every one of you were covering TYT for Jimmy Dore for 4 fucking months. It was embarrassing. I'll answer you. I just don't get, like, why do you want to spend all our time talking about Jimmy Dore? I don't get it. Jimmy Dore. It's all Jimmy Dore's fault. Jimmy Dore's all Jimmy. I don't know why we're talking so much about Jimmy Dore. Jimmy was just Jimmy. Embarrassing. Jimmy Dore. Jimmy started this mindset.
Well, who are you talking about?
Jimmy has.
Well,
wait a minute. I think Jimmy Dore, Max Blumenthal, Jimmy Dore. If people don't agree with us on everything politically, maybe we shouldn't ascribe that they're like liberals or sellouts or frauds or cowards. Maybe we just don't agree with people that claim they're anti-war, that just like lick Putin's balls, which is what's going on with Jimmy and certain others. I think Jimmy is acting like a Putin stand-up. When I watch Jimmy Dore, he sounds like he might as well be on RT. If I think that Jimmy is, for example, like,
Well, I believe in expanding democracy, even though we have a bourgeois democracy in the U.S. The only way that one can help to develop the kind of pro-democratic movement that we need is to take advantage of what already exists. So, Cornel attempting to develop this party and running. I can't be opposed to that because I know the kinds of issues that he will in fact raise. He will raise the issues of peace. He will raise the issues related to the continued grinding poverty we have in this country. And so, his voice and the issues he will raise I think can be a positive contribution to the national discourse that we have to have. Some people criticize him for not running as a Democrat. And that seems to be, they don't understand Cornel's politics in terms of where he believes the country is and the complete capture of the Democratic Party by the neoliberal right finance capital. And so the only way, and we all see, we've been talking about the constrained spaces we have now for democratic discourse. So the only way you deal with that is to try to open it up so that we can try to expand it again a little bit and try to maintain it for as long as we can, because many of us believe, I believe, that the cutting edge of fascism in the U.S. is not just the Trumpians and those elements, as dangerous as they are. To me, the cutting edge of a particular kind of U.S. fascism is, in fact, the elements that control the Democratic Party, the neoliberal elements that control the Democrat Party. They are the ones that are developing a particular kind of fascism that people don't even seem to be able to recognize. So I think having Cornel as part of that discourse, part of that conversation, I think will be helpful. I'm not going to endorse anybody yet. I mean, I want to see a vigorous sort of debate. I think the electoral process is one in which radicals can contest if you have no illusions about its limitations, because what we're trying to do is get access to the public. So, and to raise the level of visibility on certain issues, to raise and transform consciousness, leading toward more effective organization and opposition. So that's why, and so I have no illusions beyond, I have no faith beyond that in this limited thing that they call democracy in the United States. The politics in the U.S. is even more corrupt than I thought. That the Democrat Party is a gangster party, because they are the ones that led the fight against us. They then turned around and led the fight to undermine the Harry Hawkins campaign in 2020, including getting Hawkins thrown off the ballot in a few states. That these people are not committed to democracy at all, that they are moral hypocrites. And that basically, if you're not prepared to get into this thing and fight and have to get down in the mud with some of these folks, then don't even play with these folks. Mud fighters, they fight